Welcome back to the Shacknews Awards. You came back, so we're going to talk comebacks. That's how this works. Best comeback of the year 2024. This is not a game that had to release this year. This could be a franchise. This could be a company. This could be a person. This could be a specific game. So it's kind of a wide open field. Let's get to the nominees, and then we can talk a little bit more about them. Our first nominee is the Contra franchise. We got a actual new standalone Contra game, Operation Galuga, this year, and we got the Guns DLC in Vampire Survivors, which was kind of shocking at the time because instead of getting Castlevania first, they went with Contra DLC for Vampire Survivors. But yeah, the Contra franchise kind of popping off, and kind of to a larger extent, it kind of feels like Konami's having a good comeback too. Next up would be the Prince of Persia franchise, which we have now seen. The Lost Crown was released earlier this year, but then we also got that roguelike, the Rogue Prince of Persia, that's in early access. And we still have that remake coming down the road too. So the Prince of Persia franchise is being nominated for best comeback here, and I think that makes a lot of sense. Also, the Fallout franchise is being nominated for best comeback because, you know, the Fallout Prime series drew a lot of attention back to the franchise, and some of the games saw concurrent records as a result. Also, it was just the Fallout adaptation is actually quite good, and people liked it. Greg, when's Marvel?
Marvel vs. Capcom, they ported it, they brought it back. Everyone wanted it, and they ported it, and they brought it back.
Yeah. So it had a bit of a comeback, like a literal comeback. We finally have some of those games that collection on Nintendo Switch, other consoles. Yeah, Marvel vs. Capcom did have a bit of a comeback. I wouldn't say it's like the comeback though, Greg. It's not the one that we want.
It's definitely like a comeback. It's just low end comeback.
We want Marvel vs. Capcom 4, right?
That's a tall order, dude.
But that's
a real tall order.
That's what you
I'm just
want.
saying.
That's what you want.
I'm not saying like that's what's gonna happen. That's what we want, and maybe this year opens the door for that. Is all I'm saying. It just seems like Capcom is working with partners more than they have in these fighting games. You saw it with SNK, with Terry. But yeah, you're also seeing it. I think Marvel and Capcom may be cooking. So, you know, wait and see. But I don't know if it's going to win this year. Because, like, to me, that would be the comeback. Is if we get, like, a real MVC4 or something.
Yeah.
This is quite literally a comeback. 10 years in the making. EA Sports College Football 25 released this year. The return of a beloved franchise that people had given up on almost entirely. But several things happened to open the door for that game to come back, you know, name, image, likeness deals. And I think it's good that players whose likenesses are being used in the game are making money off of it. Because that was something that wasn't the case back in 2013, 14. And then last but not least, BioWare. They came back this year with Dragon Age The Veilguard after... What was their last release?
Several
Anthem?
years. Andromeda was their last one. Before that, it was Inquisition. That was
no, it was Anthem between them, and
it was Anthem,
we don't
and
count
then
Anthem.
Andromeda.
People were we should count Anthem because people were pouring dirt on their graves after that.
Yeah.
So yeah, BioWare. I think they could not suffer another failure this year, and they didn't release a terrible game. So congratulations on it's like best survivor of the year. I don't know if it's the best comeback of the year. But yeah, who wants to talk about the Contra franchise and its return?
Contra is something that I never thought I'd see again because the last Contra game that released was it was like a 3D some garbage thing, and it didn't really pan out. And it's like, okay, there's no real appeal in Contra anymore.
You lost me at 3D.
Yeah, which is really silly to say because Contra, when it's done right and when it sticks to its 2D roots, there's still nothing like it. And Operation Galuga proved that when it sticks to the formula, it's so good. And even with some of the cheesy voice acting, the cheesy voice acting actually turned out to be part of the charm. And so I appreciated Operation Galuga for what it was. And then there was that Vampire Survivors DLC, which the Vampire Survivors DLC was like a love letter to everything that Contra was and still is in a lot of ways. And it's amazing how it still sticks to that Vampire Survivors core formula, but like there's so many elements of Contra in it, like the power-ups and like the different enemies and all that stuff. And
the boss battles,
the top-down labyrinths that you would see in Contra 3, like that kind of feel, like I thought it was great. I really appreciate it, and I really hope to see more of Contra because it still holds a place close to my heart.
Remixes of Contra music just remind me every time that Contra has some of the best music that ever happened in early video games.
Yeah,
Like,
the first
seriously.
song, first level, banger. Like still,
It's an all-time banger.
And like, yeah, that's like half the appeal of jumping into these new things is like you get these tasty remixes of those tracks. And Operation Galuga, and obviously Operation Galuga goes off on its own with some new stuff, but there is still a lot of love for the source material in there, and I appreciate that very much.
Yeah, I'm just happy Konami remembered they own video game IP this year, and they're like,
Yeah, we
we're
didn't
gonna
get a
make
Contra
video games.
machine.
But we got like Silent Hill 2 remake. We're seeing them like, okay, Konami, you're not going to do it all yourself, fine. But they're licensing their IP out to these very talented developers, and you're getting good games out of it. And I think that's
Operation Galuga was way forward, and
Yep.
I'm gonna have more to say about way forward in another category. But yeah, I love what they've done with the franchise, and they've known what to do with the franchise because Contra 4 is an underrated banger that we really haven't seen since it originally came out on DS.
Konami was a bit more active in the DS era.
Yeah.
They had the Castlevanias, and a lot of stuff was going. I think it's like when there's a system of a huge amount of addressable market, Konami's like, maybe we could sell games on that. So we'll see. Hopefully that continues in the next generation or next few years. Prince of Persia, though, David, I know you really enjoyed The Lost Crown, right?
Yeah, I really did. I'm sure Donovan will chime in on this with me too, but the Prince of Persia franchise is near and dear to my heart. I've been playing these games since the first one when I was a kid, and I don't think it's really had a celebrated game since 2003's The Sands of Time. It's just there were sequels after that, but then there were a lot of misses. The Sands of Time remake has been kind of an on again, off again affair. And this game is just great. Like the best part of Prince of Persia is exploring and solving physical puzzles. The Lost Crown does that so well. I love the game world. I love the story and the characters, but I really just love moving throughout that world. It's so fluid and smooth, which is what Prince of Persia should be. And I'll let Donovan take it from there since he reviewed the game.
Yeah, it was one of those, I believe it was a January release, but it was the first game I played this year where I had to be like, okay, we cannot forget about this game come December, and we immediately kind of wrote it down to remember for days like today. It's great. It's a great, just straight up Metroidvania. Unlike David, I don't really have much of a connection to Prince of Persia. It was the first one I've actually played all the way through, but I loved it. I think that it even like innovates on the Metroidvania genre a little bit with the way that you can like pin images of areas of the map to your map so that you don't have to backtrack as much. Obviously, it's part of like that gameplay design, but you know where things are. You know, it's easier to keep track of where things are in the world. There's less like useless backtracking because of that. I thought the combat was fun. Yeah, I enjoyed this one a lot, and it's honestly might be one of the first games I go back to replay. Looking back at 2024,
I do think the boss battles in that game are kind of tedious at times.
they can be.
I think if you really like the combat systems, especially like the parrying and riposting, which to me is just such a Souls maneuver, I really like it. They can really be sped up. Like when an enemy flashes yellow, if you riposte that, you get this cinematic counterattack that takes off huge chunks of life. So I think the boss battles, maybe some of them can be tedious, but if you pick your spots, they're really, really fun.
Oh no, I'm sure speedrunners will make me look terrible at the game, but like, yeah, it's it kind of reminded me of the Emmys in Dread. The parry mechanic. I think it's better, than the parry mechanic in Dread, obviously, because that was like if you missed by a millisecond, you were dead.
The 1% chance to survive the engagement.
Yeah, but no, I think with multiple Prince of Persia games out there right now, and then like another one in development, yeah, I think this franchise is in the best shape it's been.
Yeah, if you like The Lost Crown, the Rogue Prince of Persia, which is in early access on Steam, that's a pretty good game too right now. And full disclosure, I haven't played since the new update that dropped about a week ago that changes up the art style and adds a whole new act. But what I've played of it, like they give it like a Tintin art style that I think really fits the series well. And the way the roguelike structure works, it's a time loop similar to Majora's Mask, where like you go back to a certain point before like the Huns attack, and you're trying to uncover like what their ultimate plan is. So part of what you get as you go along is you get leads as to uncover more information, going, oh, you have to go to this level, and then you have to find this, and then you can find out more of what the plan is. So the story unfolds in kind of an unorthodox way that I think is really interesting.
It cannot be understated that the Rogue is developed by the same people who created Dead Cells.
Yeah, Motion Twin.
And they are very, very good at movement and combat in a 2D space.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, they are.
They're so good at making Prince of Persia movement feel like some of the best it's ever been in this. And like I like The Lost Crown a lot. But I think the Rogue is more my style of game, just because like the roguelike element where you die, you go back with what you got, and you try again. It lends itself well to like the time travel aesthetics that have been with Prince of Persia for quite a while, and they do so much good work with it. And man, I can't wait to see where that goes. I can't help but feel like, you know, like the remake of is it the Sands of Time?
It's Sands of Time, yeah.
That the delays that we've seen on the game, I can't help but feel like Ubisoft saw those delays and was like, we got to do something to keep people's hopes up for this. And then they gave us Lost Crown and the Rogue. Like,
honestly, if they just done the Lost Crown, it would have been fine. Like, it doesn't have to be a warm-up. That's a good main act in itself.
Yeah, it was very surprising when they announced the Rogue Prince of Persia, and that it was like, they announced it and it was early access and it was out, right? Like there was no build up or anything. It was just like, bam, here's this thing no one thought was coming. No one knew about it. And yeah, by the way, the people who made Dead Cells are on it, which is like, I don't know, one of the best side-scrolling action games ever. So yeah,
it was so surprising because it came so soon after the Lost Crown.
I think that too.
Like a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's undeniable that the Prince of Persia franchise is on a comeback. Maybe it'll maybe that moment where Sands of Time remake comes out will be like the crowning achievement of this era. But yeah, I think both these first two nominees are kind of similar in that sense. Mm-hmm. And then yeah, Fallout. It's back. We had a moment earlier this year where Bill got to create more Fallout 4 content, and he was the happiest I had seen him in a long time because he was back in his favorite game, doing fun things like, you know, selling a kid and you know, with the Kendrick Lamar song playing underneath.
We got some good meme content out of that, yeah.
I gotta say, between the resurgence of Fallout, DayZ, Frostline, and Stalker 2, it's been a good year for Bill.
It's been an amazing year for Bill LaVoy.
It's a good year. Hey, and we got some Long Dark content coming.
Did we get a new reserve in Call of the Wild the Angler?
We got 2 new reserves in the Angler.
Yeah.
You can have 3 fishing rods on the go at one time now. Like, I'm just don't even bother with me. I'm good over
everything
here. I'm just
came up
it.
LaVoy except for
Everything
NHL not on PC.
I didn't even notice. Yeah. I mean, I noticed. Yeah, Fallout. I guess the thing that I can say about a comeback is that we had some really big wins with some of the social video that we did with Fallout this year. Even some of the guide content. Like I wrote the best weapons guide. I forget exactly what it was, but it was like best weapons. And it kind of had like a different Like I think I put 5 in there, but I put like something different for everybody so that if you wanted like to play melee, like there was a really good option there. And they were things that you could get relatively easy. And that was 9 years after Fallout came out that I wrote that, and it did really, really well for us. The social video stuff did really, really well. And I wonder, like, I don't think that would have happened without the show. Like the show really it rejuvenated Fallout for people that knew about it, but it also introduced people that didn't know about it.
Yep.
And that was a really big deal. So there were people discovering Fallout 9 years after Fallout 4, 9 years after it came out. Into I know we've talked about this, but also Fallout 76. That was already in a much better state before the show, but nobody knew except for the people that were just hardcore because they were already there. But to a larger audience, nobody really knew that that this thing was out there and that it was really good. And then they started discovering it either again or for the first time. And I think that resurgence all comes back to the show.
I think to pick up on that point, Fallout 76 launched in such a dismal state, and it left such a bad taste in people's mouths that a lot of Fallout fans never went back to it. It took the show to get people interested in it again. And it's interesting that people say it's been like, because I've heard Bill and I've heard people like Dave Oshry say, like, we've known Fallout 76 has been better, but because it left such a bad first impression, people didn't want to give it another chance. It took the show to get people interested in it again.
Yeah. And we saw it just last year with the Mario movie. Like we call it the Mario movie effect, but it's just the adaptation effect. And I do think you have to make a good or above average adaptation to get this goodwill. So it goes back to the quality of the Fallout series is actually very good. I think if it was a mediocre or if it was like a Twisted Metal level of quality, I don't think you get the same effect is all I'm saying.
And I know we talk about, you know, I don't want to make any assumptions when it comes to Microsoft because, boy, but if they weren't actively working on a Fallout 5, if they have any sensibility, they are right now. Because like this franchise like has been completely injected with life now.
Yeah.
And that thing would sell huge.
They're probably 6 years into the development of Elder Scrolls 6.
Let's get Elder Scrolls 6 out first, then we'll go to Fallout 5.
Here's a solution.
A lot of people
give Obsidian Fallout 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean that's what people would want, but that's not happening.
For the love of everything that's holy, Microsoft, just hire a studio and don't ever call them again. Don't ever call them. Don't ask them about timelines. Don't ask that. You don't even get to test it, play it, stay out. Don't talk to them. Send the check.
That's what Microsoft does. They're so well known for leaving their hands off.
I know, man.
Their acquired properties.
The scariest thing in the world is when they told me that like people at Microsoft were like, "Yeah, this Starfield's the most polished ever." I'm like, "Oh God, they let them play Starfield. This is not going to go well."
And I know some people are going to be like, "Well, you know, they're not going to do a Fallout 5 because, you know, it would cannibalize Fallout 76. I'm pretty sure Elder Scrolls 6 and Elder Scrolls Online are going to coexist just fine. So that argument doesn't really hold a lot of water with me.
Yeah,
well, Todd said that the next Fallout comes after the next Elder Scrolls, but I think it was a testament to how big the Fallout show was this year that they had to make that statement because people kept asking him about it. But they're like shoulders deep in Elder Scrolls development, and Fallout will come next. But yeah, I mean, people are
the pace of
for a new game.
The pace of Bethesda Game Studios releases means that's probably like 12 years from now. The show's not even going to be on the air anymore.
Hey, it'll be a lot sooner because they're not working on Redfall anymore. So
that kind of drives your point, though, Asif. Give it to someone else.
Yeah.
Like give it to Obsidian.
Obsidian, yes.
They own
give it to somebody else.
They own them. They already own them.
I know.
But even at this point, though, Obsidian's hands are tied. I mean, they
have Avowed.
They're working on the Outer Worlds right now.
Yeah, who knows what else that the team that made Pentiment might be working on something too over there. So there's like, they have a lot of, and hell, Grounded is still a thing. That's a live service game too. So yeah, Obsidian is a much larger company than it was when it was acquired. But yeah, they have like 4 projects going on probably. So it's unfortunate timing. And I remember even when the Mario movie came out, I was like, man, they really should have a new Mario game right now, and they don't. But within 6 months, they had Wonder, right? That did capitalize on that. So despite them not having enough new stuff in the can, Fallout 4 being so affordable, I think that was part of it, right? Like, it's not an expensive game to buy in 2024.
They did a
I
sale.
don't think so.
Didn't
I
they?
don't
On the
actually
front,
know,
They did a
but
sale on it.
No, it goes on sale a lot.
All the time.
yeah.
And
All the
like,
games do.
and 76, is that free?
No, but that
No.
also goes on sale a lot.
It's not as expensive as it was at launch, is my point. So these
Yeah.
two games that are actually affordable, that benefited from it, and I think that's just good because more people learn about your franchise. They're probably going to go backwards now. If Fallout 4 is your first Fallout, you know, you're going to check out New Vegas maybe, or maybe you'll even look back at those isometric games, 1 and 2, right? So like, maybe you learn about Wasteland through this. So I just think it's that halo effect that you get from these adaptations. I don't think it's over yet for Fallout because that series is coming back, and like I said, it's good.
Bookmark this for future reference. Wouldn't it be something if Night Dive's next remaster was the Fallout trilogy, the first 3 games,
That would be nice.
or even just the first 2 games?
Larry, if you're watching, just do it for Shack News.
That's our big QuakeCon reveal.
Do it. Make Fallout Van Buren the way everybody always talks about.
Yep. But yeah, anyone else want to sing the praises of Fallout? I do think they had a hell of a year here. But yeah, on to the
feels
next
like
one.
Fallout. Like it 76 always felt weird to me, even in the stuff I jumped in again. But when it feels like Fallout, like it feels like it should be Fallout. There's no VATS. Well, technically not real true VATS, but that's the only criticism I have. It feels like Fallout in every way, shape, or form, though. The quests, the writing, everything feels very Fallout-y.
Mm-hmm. Cool. And then Marvel versus Capcom.
It finally came out. It took what, a decade, 15 years for it to be ported again, but they did it. They signed those contracts.
I don't think that's worthy of this award. It deserves to be nominated.
Yeah, nomination.
Obviously,
true, yeah.
we all love it, but
the accomplishment
I don't think it's
is
comeback
the
yet.
paperwork trail they had to get to port it. That's the accomplishment. They didn't really touch the game. That they can't legally touch the game a lot. So like that's basically what they were able to do, is have an agreement
And,
with older
like,
parties.
It's a situation now where like people that grew up on these games, people that like spent their time throwing quarters into arcade machines in the 90s are now making these games. Like these are fighting game fans. These are not just Street Fighter fans working on Street Fighter. They're also Fatal Fury fans working on Street Fighter, which is how Terry made it over. Because they want Terry over there, because they loved playing Terry in Fatal Fury. And it's so cool that we're at that point where like some of us that grew up on that stuff are now making those games and making them the way that we want them to be.
I think it's kind of like the Jean-Claude Van Damme moment last year too, David. That was something that they always dreamed of at NetherRealm, and then they finally got to do it.
Right.
I think some of these Capcom series are seeing a similar moment because, like you said, these are the fans that are now in charge of a lot of stuff. But there was a game that I thought was a bigger comeback this year, you guys. 10 years of no college football, and then they come out with EA Sports College Football 25, and it's outstanding. We talked about it in some other categories, Donovan, but I think it's undeniable that this game, like, not only is it a comeback, but like it came back. It did not cannibalize Madden sales at all. It just kind of lives on its own, and I still think that there are people out there who don't have an NFL team that care about college sports, and there's people out there who only care about professional sports and don't care about college teams. So I think that's why this niche can exist. And if it wasn't commercially successful, I don't think we could call this best comeback of the year, because they would have made some mistake or something stupid happened, and maybe this ends up like the NBA Live comebacks, not this. So I think the execution of the team behind it, and I think they promoted it well. It's financially successful. It seems like we're going to get another one next year.
No, did they solve the issue? Because the issue, I mean, part of the issue, I don't know the whole story, 'cause I'm not a sports guy, but is that like college people couldn't accept money, right, for like endorsements? There was some kind of rule. Did that play into part of why they stopped making it?
No.
I think
They had
there's a
no
little back-
problem
why-
not
why
paying
it's a
athletes.
comeback. Like, can
They
you get
enjoyed
into
not
that?
paying
Yeah.
athletes. I think it was a licensing deal with the NCAA specifically that fell through at first. And then, yeah, a decade of lawsuits about individuals' rights to have money in exchange for their name, image, and likeness. That's what they call NIL deals today. And oddly enough, Greg, you manage your NIL deals in the creative player mode, the career mode of this game.
Oh, wow.
It's part of it. The transfer portal is part of it. Like all these things that have been introduced kind of post-COVID are all in this game. But yeah, I think that's part of it. But I don't think EA had any problem just putting numbers on jerseys and not paying people for it. So I don't
South
think
Park
that
did an episode of it. They satirized it, didn't they?
Yeah, South Park made fun of that for
Yeah.
sure. But like I don't think the NCAA was like dying to give kids money. I think it was people went to court for the right to have name, image, and likeness deals. So I think this game could have happened without it, is my point.
Okay.
But it happening at the time that it did create more money for student athletes. So that's cool.
You and David used to play the old, like you were so desperate for a college game, you'd play the old one. I forget what year it was, but you guys would stream that one.
2013.
Yeah, you'd play that all the time.
I still play NCAA 2013. I would argue that it's still my favorite football game, at least 3D football game of all time, because it has features that even this new one doesn't. But yeah, EA Sports College Football 25, undeniably one of the best comebacks of the year. We'll see where it falls on the list. And then last but not least, BioWare. With the release of Dragon Age, the Veilguard, it came back. You know,
It did alright.
better than Anthem. It was better than that weird Mass Effect game.
Andromeda.
Yeah.
Andromeda. I call it the Mass Effect game with the eyes, because the NPC eyes in that game are creepy as hell. That's all I have to say.
I will say that I know TJ classified it as a summer blockbuster type of game. Well, I'm the type of summer blockbuster consumer, so I haven't had a lot of past experience with the Dragon Age games. I've played quite a bit of the Veilguard, and I'm enjoying it. I'm not gonna lie, I'm into it. It's not gonna be my game of the year by any means, but it's about 1,000 times better than Anthem, which I'm careful to say that
bar is low.
because 1,000 times 0 is still 0.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm enjoying it way more than Anthem is what I'll say, and I think it's a nice bounce back for a studio that I think people were aware that if it underperformed, they wouldn't be around anymore. So this was a make or break moment for BioWare, and I think they nailed it.
Now listen, Ozzy, Anthem gets 1 single point for flying around. That was kind of fun, but that's
It
what
had
it
a
is.
jetpack.
So it's 1,000 because
Okay.
Yeah, it had a jetpack.
1 point.
I will allow it.
Just the Veilguard, for the things that I didn't like about it, that game is beautiful. Like,
Best hair
probably
tech I've ever
deserves to
seen.
be in a few of the other categories we're talking about. Yeah, like an amazing character creator in there. My dude had hair like mine, and I was running around, it was just like quaffing back and forth, and I was like, wow, that's impressive.
Best hair tech.
But then there's a whole environment where it's a prison that's like underneath the ocean and surrounded by a bubble of magic. And the entire session of going through that area is just like, I couldn't stop looking around just because the whole thing is super cool. I was amazed by how they did this game's environments, and just like, I don't know, I think I've enjoyed BioWare's graphics in the past, but this was amazing.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Cool. Well, those are all the nominees for this category. What do you guys say we vote? Sound like a plan?
Yes.
Danny, you want to kick it off?
Sure.
You need me to go down the nominees real quick for you? I know you kind of joined mid deliberation here, but the nominees are the Contra franchise, Prince of Persia franchise, Fallout franchise, Marvel vs. Capcom franchise, EA Sports College Football 25, and BioWare the studio.
Yeah, see, I was I want to give Marvel some love, but I'm also, like you, very big on that college football action.
Oh yeah.
And I was very happy and shocked to see them come back, because I was one of those two running the 2013 edition over and over again. And so it was definitely big moves. So it's gonna get my love this time.
Nice. Well, we got our money's worth out of that NCAA 2013, Denny.
Yeah, my dog's happy too. The mailman's outside.
Oh, great. Yeah, Greg.
Yeah, me and Bill and I are the Resident Fallout fanboys. I gotta do 76. In any other world,
It's not 76. It's the entire franchise.
The
Greg.
franchise, yeah. I mean, like,
yeah, it's the Fallout franchise, because we had 4 as well as 76. Both saw people playing it. I think even New Vegas saw an uptick.
They went on sale.
And even the series.
My nephew now knows about it because of the show. Like, that's just a big deal. That's a big deal. So I think it definitely deserves it.
Okay. PJ. You might be muted, TJ.
Yeah.
Best hair tech I've ever seen.
Oh my god, there's 3 on here that I'm having a hard time choosing between. Can I take a pass for a sec?
Sure. Ozzy.
I'm gonna. These are all really worthy nominees, and I really love the Prince of Persia and what they've done this year. But I'm gonna go with college football, because this is such a triumphant return. It's such a long time coming, and it shows that EA is still capable of making a good football game when it wants to.
Right. Yeah.
That's it. That's it. It's such a little thing to say, but man, I had lost faith in that. And
I'm going EA college football as well.
Boom. Okay. We got college football all over the place here. Bill.
I was muted, of course. Fallout.
Yep. A very worthy vote here. Like I think Ozzy, you said it. All the nominees deserve to be here.
Yeah.
It was a strong category.
Yeah. It's not always the case either. Some years it's like there's one company or game where you're like, that's the comeback this year. Whereas this year it's like there's a lot of comebacks, which we like to see. Sam.
Yeah, there's a lot of great comebacks this year. I hadn't lost hope in Fallout. You all had seemingly lost hope in football. College football.
But this
It's gotta be
isn't the one you kick, Sam. It's the one you throw. It's that kind of football.
Despair.
You do kick him. What are you talking about? You do kick. Donovan has a whole video guide for it.
How to kick a field goal.
This is true.
This is true, yeah.
Because it changed. It was different than how man kicking works. Anyway, sorry, Steve.
Yeah, I'll go college football also. I have given up on football, but not for any other reason. But college football.
You've given up on football sponsored by Woody Johnson. That's what you've given up on. You haven't given up on all football. You like football. Your team, though. Your team, though.
Yeah, anyway. The GM saying the same thing. You guys like football?
Yeah, I like football.
Keep watching us.
Football, yeah.
Oh, man. That GM got fired last week. Anyway. Yeah, Danny. Like, everyone who isn't Aaron Rodgers has been fired from the team. Everyone except for Aaron Rodgers and Steve. They're the 2 people left on the roster.
Yeah, I can't get fired. I should be, but I can't.
You're too essential to the operation. I don't know.
A lifer. I'm a lifer, jackass.
David.
Yeah, I gave college football flowers another category. I got to go Prince of Persia.
Mm-hmm. That is fair. Donovan?
College football series. We may likely never see that much excitement for a new EA Sports game ever again. So there you go.
He's right. We had to review Madden.
No, it's like you don't get this very often. Like, this is like if NFL Blitz came back somehow and it was good, That's like the next thing that could happen where I'd be like, wow.
That's the key is it good?
Exactly.
Yeah,
We've seen splits come back
being
and it's
good.
not good.
Because that's what I'm saying, man. Like, if this game sucked, there's no way I'm caping for this game if it's bad. No way.
Yeah.
And like everyone who was talking to me this year knew I was super nervous about the release of this game because I wanted it to be good. And like, it is good. And I think that's, without it being good, without the care that they put into it, there's no way it would have won this at all.
The backlash would have been monumental. I can tell you that from everyone in my friend group.
Yeah. So obviously I'm voting for EA Sports College Football as well. It wins. No surprise here. But all the nominees deserve to be in this category. They all had great years. I think some of them might have better years down the road where they could win this. I think Marvel vs. Capcom is one of those where if this is just the beginning of a resurgence for MVC, I think that could be huge. That's just something to keep our eye on. And that Fallout show's not going anywhere. We got a season 2 coming, right?
Yep.
So yeah, like I think that the Fallout TV show effect is probably not over yet either. So it's good to see them come back. But yeah, congratulations to EA Sports and its CEO Andrew Wilson. You have won another Shacknews Award for Best Comeback of the Year 2024. EA Sports, it's in the game.